Today I want to share with you 5 things. Oh, God, you know what? I can't do this to you guys. These boring ass intros. Let's put on some great music. Let's do that. Alright, that's better. Alright, so let's get real. I'll just be honest with you, right? So just a couple years ago, I was in a completely different industry, right? I was working in finance, and I really hated it. I don't use the word a lot, but I did hate it. And basically, I was looking into better opportunities, and I looked into programming, and the benefits and the salary just looked a lot better. And basically, after teaching myself how to code for about a year, I was able to get a job. And then within the first year of professional experience, I was able to get a 6-figure income salary. And that salary has been slowly progressing every year. So now I'm in my year 6, so I have even better salary benefits. So let's go over the steps to get you over the hump from wherever you're coming from to being a self-taught, 6-figure income software engineer. Let's get there. Number 1, pick a stack and perfect it, right? And then what do I mean by that, right? So you basically want to pick a language and learn all the concepts and the frameworks around that language that help accomplish the goals that you have in mind. So what kind of developer do you want to be? Do you want to be a web app developer, so build websites and technologies around that? In that case, you could pick HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And with that, you could build entire web apps and ecosystems around that with different frameworks like React on the front end, Node.js on the back end. Now, for example, if you want to build mobile apps, then you would want to pick a language like Swift for iOS or Kotlin for Android, right? But if you want to do machine learning, you might want to pick a language like Python, which has a lot of libraries that help you develop different neural networks and things like that. So that is something to consider. Personally, if you don't know, I would start with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript just because you can learn how to build a website, and it has lots of advantages because, snobby Java developers, for example, don't like JavaScript and React and like all those frameworks because it changes so quickly. So that's basically an advantage for you if you're a newcomer, but that's just my personal opinion. Number 2, so once you pick the stack that you really enjoy, right, you want to learn as much as you can about it. So in this period, let's say like it took you a month or 2 to figure out what language and what kind of development you want to do. In this period, I would say from the 2nd month on, you really just want to nail down the basics of the language, the framework surrounding the language, and all the details. So you're going to spend a few months here at least just getting your bearings, right? In this particular case, just find content that's really engaging, where you learn quickly how to build different kinds of apps or whatever that is that you want to build, right? So for me personally, I found a lot of great content on Udemy for learning React and Node.js, which basically frameworks around JavaScript. So you could go to places like YouTube, Coursera, Codecademy, and God, there's so many more that it's even hard to remember. Team Treehouse was another one that I learned from. But just go out. A lot of these are not that expensive, so like $20, $30 a month. Number 3, you basically want to get as much experience as you can at this point, right? So you want to put some experience on your resume. And how do you do that? 1 is through open source projects. 2 is basically you help friends and anybody else you know, help them with their website, and you could put that as an experience on your resume, right? And 3 are educational programs. For example, here in New York, there's a program called Recourse Center. You can go to recourse.com, and they actually might be available to anybody in the United States. So just look it up and see for yourself. But it's basically free for everybody, right? And it's a continuous educational program for engineers that want to get a lot better and have great speakers come in and help you out. So that's, for example, another program that you could put in your resume. So basically figure out ways to get experience on your resume. The way I did it was I helped a few of my friends build websites, and I basically put that as an experience. And by the time I was actually looking for interviews, I had, at that point it was like 6 to 9 months of experience on my resume that I could talk about, where I helped people set up different websites and things like that. And that made me stand out amongst other self-taught developers and people that just went to bootcamp but basically don't have any real experience. And last but not least, number 4, and that is getting those interviews, right? So I recommend that you basically do that before you think you're completely ready. So whatever that means for you, whether it's the 3-month mark, the 6-month mark, the 9-month mark, but you don't want to put this off, right? Because basically what you're going to do is you're going to Google online like what are the interview questions for front-end development or back-end development or for Kotlin or for Swift, whatever it is that you're in, and you're going to study that. And then you're going to go to the interview, and the first few, you're probably going to get crushed. And that is an important failure that you need to overcome, because you're going to write down the questions that you don't know, and then each interview, hopefully you just get a little bit better. And then once you're past 5-10 interviews, you should be able to do a lot better and eventually just get hired, right? Because in the previous step, we got the experience, and now we're getting the interview reps in. And then within a few months, I was basically able to get a job. And I think a lot of people can as well if you just focus on not on the failures of interviews, but just getting a little bit better every time. Speaking of, so how do you get these interviews? So one way is you go on LinkedIn, you find the companies that you want to apply for, and then you either apply to them or you speak with a recruiter, you reach out to different recruiters, and eventually they'll post you for different jobs, and that is one easy way. Another way is to go to computer science events or programming events. You can go on meetup.com. That is another way that recruiters like to reach out and find qualified candidates. So those were the two main ways. And the other thing I want to cover is that the salary, right? So the first job I got, I think I was making about $75,000, and then about 7 or 8 months later, I got a second job. At that one, I was making about $110,000. And some people did a lot better than me. Some of these YouTubers, the first job, they got into Google or something crazy like that. Another friend of mine got a salary for $160,000 basically as his first job. Experiences may vary. You might do a little bit worse, you might do a little better. The most important thing is that you're progressing and you're just getting better at programming, and I believe in you. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day. See ya.